Hello, and welcome again to this talk. It's good to be with you. There are times when things attract my attention and send me off on a whole train of thought which I did not expect. Most often, I just end up with more questions than answers. And the latest one of these is no different. On CBC News World this morning, there was a report about people, primarily adults, living with learning difficulties who are in residential care. The thought expressed is that too often these folks are forgotten about by most of us, with the exception of their relatives. In the Ontario example, which was shown, COVID-19 has entered one of these facilities, and everyone is worried about the possible outcomes. My thoughts went beyond the end of this pandemic. I asked myself, what happens next? During the past weeks, several vulnerable communities have been highlighted as having difficulty during the present outbreak. What struck me, and it's obvious, is that these groups of people are there all the time. The current situation has brought them more to mind, but their issues will not disappear after this has passed. If we think of some other groups who are in difficult situations at this time, it may help us to consider how we might respond in the future. There are those who are lonely, and this has been highlighted and heightened by the pandemic. Many people are unconnected to the technology that has been helping us. Some find that they're living in abusive relationships and have to remain with their abuser. Across the province, there are children who rely on meals provided at school and are now facing food insecurity along with their families. I'm sure that this list could be much longer, and I'll leave you to add to it. Now that we're more aware of these things, what are we willing and able to do when things return to some sort of normal? I'm not asking this solely of people who identify as followers of Jesus. It's a much wider discussion than that. Having said it, I want to suggest that Christians have a role to play in promoting better care for those of whom we have been made aware in these past weeks. It would be very sad if the folks we have noticed as being very vulnerable in our society were just allowed to drift back into obscurity when all this is over. We may be at a time when we're able to reorient ourselves to see more clearly those who are too often left on the margins. Once again, thank you for being here, and I trust that you're doing well. There is again a litany this evening at 6 on the Zoom network for the diocese, and you can find information about that through the website, as you can for numerous other things that are happening to try and help us get through these days in a more straightforward way. So thank you again, and God bless. Stay safe.